Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the NFSC Speak, and I'm today's host, Ava Chen. And thank you very much for waiting for our updates on the third day of Miles' trial. I'm not sure whether you had followed us for the previous 2 days of reporting on Miles' trial. At Miles' School's trial, which the NFSC leaders, the founder of the NFSC's 1 billion fraud cases right now is basically actively on trial at the Southern District of New York. So I actually just came back from the court house at 2 o'clock. So I spent pretty much the big part of the day at the court. But today we're going to give you some new updates, and I have one of our members waiting right outside the courtroom and give us the detailed layout what happened on the day 3. If you haven't subscribed to this channel, which is LFA TV at NFSC Speak, please do, because we will cover the rest of the Miles School's trial on this particular channel at 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock every day. So with that, I'm going to bring in my fellow fighters, and his name is Kevin. And hello, Kevin.
Hi, Eva.
Hi, hello. Yeah, it's a very hot day. I know you've been waiting, so I think our audience has been waiting as well. So what can you bring the updates? Start from the day. Give us a layout of the land, of what happened from the morning up to the 2:45, where the session is adjourned.
Yeah, of course. So I would say today's been a pretty fast-paced, hectic day. In the morning, the jury selection process finally concluded, and they chose 12 jurors plus 6 alternate jurors. And then afterwards, the trial moved on and it started. And the prosecution as well as the defense gave their opening statements around 11. And then after that, the judge ordered a lunch break. And then after the lunch break, the first 2 witnesses were called. And then the first witness, they gave their statements. The government examined them, and then there was a cross-examination by the defense. And then it moved on to the second witness, and then the same exact process happened. And then around 2:40, 2:45. The cross-examination of the second witness concluded, and then the judge just ended the court for the day.
Oh, cool. Thank you. So I wanted to ask you a question about the jury, because last night at the day 2, we actually left with still, I think, with 37, if I'm correct on the number of the jurors left. So how did that describe to us what that process looked like in the morning? How did they narrow down from 37 to finally 12 jurors for the jury?
Yeah, for sure. So in the beginning, they had a list, like you said, of 37 jurors, and then they went through and asked the defense as well as the prosecution if there were any preemptory strikes that they wanted to use. And from what I remember, there were about 5 strikes left for the defense as well as 3 for the prosecution. So the judge just went through the list, asked, and the defense and the prosecution would give their strikes. And then afterwards, after the 12 jurors were chosen, they would then go through the alternate juror list. And then from there, each side also had 3 strikes each. And so the same process happened. The judge would list the jurors' numbers, and then they would go through, and the defense and prosecution would see if they wanted to strike any, and if not, it would be added to the alternate juror list. And then that process was actually pretty quick. I would say it ended around 11, so in total about 1.5 hours.
Wow, that's pretty efficient. So for what you observed, whoever left, because I know that the total number of the candidates for the jury was over 200. Actually, it was 204, right? Exactly the number. Yeah. So going through the 2 days, so finally in the morning, the first an hour and a half, it narrowed down to the 12. How would you describe the composition? You don't have to go detail, but how do you feel like it's a diverse and it's well reflected that the people who live in Southern District of New York?
Oh yeah, the jury chosen was very, very diverse. The range was from middle-aged Caucasian women to I guess a senior African American. It's very diverse. It's very I would say representative of the Southern District of New York as a whole. And I'm sure the defense and the prosecution did a good job in choosing a random diverse sample of jurors.
So hindsight, because I know you were there for the first 2 days, and this is kind of you witnessed the selection of the jury from the start to the end. So having the experience of gone through the whole 3 and a little bit, an hour and a half this morning, what's your view towards this process? Like overall, what's your feeling? Can you describe that for us?
Yeah, so this is my first time actually on Wednesday when the jury selection process started. It was my first time ever in court, ever, experiencing the U.S. Justice system. And, just throughout the entire process, I thought it was very smooth, very understandable. And although it was slow, it does give, the defendant a very fair and equitable selection process. And so, it also gives the prosecution defense opportunities to also strike any jurors without reason, giving them, their fair rights as well. And I just have to say, compared to the CCP's, court process, this is completely different, right? As I mentioned yesterday, there's no choice. You're determined guilty even before the trial starts. But here in the U.S., you're granted due process. And there's this entire, rigid, structured process that must happen before the trial can officially start.
For sure. I want to add something because I basically lived my pretty much adulthood, and I also worked in communist China. Although I haven't really had a chance to witness what the court environment looks like in China, but I've seen it on TV, I've seen it on report, and this is also, I've with Kevin the whole day, gone through this entire process. I really wanted the audience to know that all of us, including me, including Kevin, including every fellow fighters from the new federal state of China, we've developed a whole new level of appreciation for the law, the rule of law, and the American justice system. I know a lot of you had a second thought because some of the things that are going on in your great country, but having personally gone through this 2 days process and understand how rigorous, how thoughtful, how structured the process is, and how much effort the court, the judge, and the court staff spend on reminding us of our own bias and be able to structure the law in a very discrete way of providing the clear guidance to every single individual. This is a participation that the Chinese people never had a chance not only to enjoy, but just to observe. We never had that. And I want you to put in shoes of me and Kevin, especially me, because Kevin came to Canada very young, but I was grown up to my full adulthood. I have never experienced the things, the 2.5 days that I just experienced in the United States. And I have to say, I want to thank for the founding fathers. I want to thank for every jury member. I know it take a lot to put their lives aside for 7 weeks, and just focusing on this most important trial, because we've saying this is a century of a trial, and whoever that remained to be the 12 jurors, we believe this is a fate. This is a fatalism that we met at this courtroom and with the prosecuting team, with the lawyers, with the judges. So I really, really want you to feel the deep appreciation coming from all of us. So thank you for providing the NFSC and providing Miles School a platform to basically showcase the information that we have. So yeah, I just want to make that comment. So I wanted to ask you to talk a little bit about the opening statement. Did anything happen prior to the opening statement? So how did the judge prepare for the jury to get ready to for this case? What did the judge do?
Yeah, for sure. So once the jury selection process ended, all the jurors were sworn in. The judge went to the stand and she said an oath to the jurors for them to understand that everything here that happens in the courtroom is private, and that they cannot rely on outside information. And then they also walked through about what the entire trial process will look like, the timeline, and how the exact structure of each process in this trial will go through. So for example, she talked about how the defense and the government, they'll both give opening statements, and then after that there'll be witnesses, and the government will call witnesses, there'll be evidence presented, as well as the defense can cross-examine. And then after that, once all the witnesses have been called, then both the defense and the prosecution will also give closing statements. And then from there, the jury's job, as the sole, deciding factor, they will go deliberate, and then after that, they will give a verdict. And so, throughout this entire explanation, the judge was very patient, very, she used words that were very neutral, very understandable for the jurors to understand. And she also added on, talked about the types of evidence, direct evidence, circumstantial evidence. And so basically she talked about everything that the jurors would want to know. And she went in very detailed words about what they should know and what they will see upcoming in the trial. And so she basically left no, room for misunderstanding. And I would say that process took about maybe 20 minutes, 20 minutes just explaining everything. And after that, and then the trial just started right away. Very, very efficient, very speedy.
Wow. Yeah, because I was there when the judge, did her procedure, which is basically telling the jurors what to expect. Right, just as you covered. I think she mentioned the three principles of law, right? And she also emphasized on the bias and prejudice and talking to us in a language that we could understand, because every single one of us are normal human being and we usually have bias and prejudice, right? So, but in this court, you need to set that aside and only look at the evidence in front of you. So I think it is definitely a very deliberated efforts to remind all of us. So yeah, I really like that part, and I think she made it very clear, say what the jurors could do and could not do. Okay, so and then proceed with the opening statement. So let's give us a little bit, summarize what the opening statement from the prosecutor team looks like.
Yeah, so just a very brief overview of the prosecution's opening statement. They basically talked about just explaining the indictment as well, which was, just basically talking about how Miles Guo allegedly scammed, $1 billion from his supporters. And so it was mostly just framing the fact that Miles Guo, he had 4 businesses, and he used those 4 businesses, G Clubs, Himalaya Exchange, and the others, to scam investors out of out of $1 billion. Yeah. And then other than that, it was basically that I wouldn't say there was any other substance. And then after that, it moved on to the defense opening statement. And here, Miles' lawyer, Sabrina, took the stand and basically framed, the story as Miles. He comes from a different background, right? So she gave his life story. So Miles started from a very poor family. He has 8 brothers. And she basically told his entire life story. And I think actually during this part, Miles was actually crying, just showing lots of emotion, because, for him, this is a very emotional part of the trial. It just started, and, just bring back all those memories of how, he came from such a humble background to where he is today, coming from a real estate developer in China, had his family arrested, had his billions of dollars seized by the Chinese government, and how he came up, created this idea, this mission, this whistleblowers movement to bring together, like-minded people, supporters of the whistleblowers movement to take down, the CCP. I think it was just very moving for everyone, including Miles. So that's what caused them to, sort of have, cry a little bit. But I did notice that the jury as well, during the defense opening statement, they're also leaning in, trying to hear more. I think they were very moved as well. And the open statement, at least from my opinion, I feel was very very rational, very logical, and also based on common sense.
Cool. So how long did the prosecutor team's opening statement last? How many minutes? Is that pretty much the same amount of time?
I want to say about 10-15 minutes, and then the defendant's opening statement, I want to say, was definitely longer. Might even be double, around 20-25, I would say.
Oh wow, Wow, and you observe the jurors that 12 of them are leaning, kind of trying to listening tentatively to what the defense team, which you mentioned, the lawyer's name is Sabrina, right? One of the counsel on Miles Guo's defense team. That's awesome. So did they touch a little bit because you mentioned that Sabrina talked a little bit about Miles Guo's upbringing and you mentioned about 7 brothers, right? Because one of 8 children. Because I think in family that was the judge's words. So did Sabrina mention anything about the victim? Because remember the defense team talking about the victim, right? Talk about how Miles Guo defrauded thousands of victims, and with the 1 billion fraud. Did Sabrina, the defense team, in the opening statement mention anything about victim?
So she, from what I remember, she did explain what the prosecution will do. They'll call witnesses, they'll present evidence, and also call victims as well. And then Sabrina basically framed everything else, or the opening statement as, do not, just because someone, is rich, has lots of money, buys lots of stuff, does not mean that they're a criminal. Please put away, your moral judgment, your ethical judgment, and focus on the value judgment. Focus on, on being unbiased and impartial, and focus, please, on the fact that Miles lives a different life because of his situation. He had to leave China. His family was arrested in China because he received harassment, unending harassment from the CCP because he spoke out against them, and he had to come to the U.S. For asylum, for political asylum. And so the prosecution also mentioned in the opening statement how he has multiple phones, multiple laptops, equipment, stuff like that. And they framed it as that he wanted to avoid people, something in that sense. But Sabrina said that to the jurors, think of how you would act if you were in Miles's shoes, right? Would you not also have multiple phones, multiple computers, equipments, to avoid being targeted by the CCP? And everything she said was basically very logical and trying to get the jurors to think of how their life would be like if they were in Miles's shoes.
Yeah, that's a really good way just to switch the perspective, right? So I wanted to maybe using one sentence to summarize the opening statement from the prosecutor team. So I think in a nutshell, the prosecutor trying to convince the juror that this defendant is basically a liar, okay? And he scammed thousands of followers and basically promised them to get rich, because investing in these things and you were get rich. And then instead of actually deliver what he promised, he basically stolen those investors' money and used on his own lifestyle and his family lifestyle. So basically, in a nutshell, that's what the statement, what the opening statement from the prosecutor team is. Basically, I think the lawyer was repeatedly emphasized on this one line of sentence. But from the defense kind of opening statement, you could see that the defense team lawyer Sabrina has construed a story, not based on truth, of course, right? So in telling folks that Miles Guo is different. He came from a very humble family through his own hard working with his brothers. They're in real estate business. They accumulated a large amount of wealth, and then he is wealth. He doesn't have to basically steal. Even today, although he's personally bankrupt, but his family funds supported his life, so there's no need for him to basically steal other people. And also Sabrina mentioned about the movement, because I remember one gesture. I don't know whether, Kevin, you saw that or not. When Sabrina described this is a whistleblower movement, that's what Miles Guo came to the United States and started in 2019. When she actually literally said these words, she actually turned around and watched, basically watch us, like turn around to the right corner where all the followers, the fellow fighters from the new federal state of China are sitting. So it is a way of acknowledging all of us are there. Our spirits are there with Miles Guo. So that was very touching, as she did. She said this movement is about bringing more people to joining the movement, right? It's not going to be just one person taking down the CCP. It's going to hold efforts of the Chinese people, because Chinese people do not know we have an alternative outside of the Chinese Communist Party. And this is why Miles Guo spent so much time on talking, on broadcasting and telling us the truth and waking up the Chinese people. We could actually have a choice. Just like you have a choice, you have a choice to solve the dispute on a civilized platform like the court, like South District New York Court. So this is very important. And also, I think Sabrina mentioned about, because a lot of jurors, they're living in a free society, like a great nation like America, so they don't know what the CCP or China look like. So I think I really appreciated that the defense counsel and basically shared what the CCP, what living CCP meant, look like. So she mentioned about surveillance state, right? 24/7, you're living in a surveillance state, and the rule by law system is constantly people being harassed. If you are dissidents, if you are, in any kind of a trouble with the government, then you will be constantly under harassment. So she kind of explained the environment that people lived in. So my question to you, Kevin, is did she add on any information about how the CCP persecuted Miles Guo in that opening statement?
Yeah, so she mentioned lots of things about Miles' the CCP's harassment of Miles, arresting his family members back in, I think, if I remember correctly, 2015, for 2 years, locked them in jail, and also just hacking
and daughter and wife. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. And also hacking him many times as well. Just she gave multiple examples of how the CCP has been harassing and targeting Miles Guo because of his opposition to the CCP.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember there's one thing that she mentioned that I really, I didn't know that, and I just learned it today, and it was really shocking to me. As you recall, Kevin, because the prosecutor team laid out the 4 fraudulent schemes, so-called fraudulent schemes, right? So Miles Guo allegedly that defrauded all his followers. These 4 enterprises are GTV, and then Farm Loan Program, and then the G Club, and the 4th one is Himalaya Exchange, right? She mentioned about a lot of bank accounts, for those legitimate enterprises. They have legitimate employees and everything. However, in order to the CCP to sabotage those enterprises from the new federal state of China, what they did, do you recall? Do you recall what did the judge share with us? About the bank accounts?
So Sabrina said that the reason that there were so many bank accounts is because every time there was a new bank account open, the CCP would have, people on the blacklisted individuals on I think the OFAX, I'm not sure if I'm remembering correctly, or the OFAX list, which is a list where, there's blacklisted individuals that if they deposit money or withdraw money, they, banks will be notified, the government will be notified. So the CCP had those types of individuals deposit money into the bank accounts, which is why, every time a bank account was closed, they had to open a new one.
So when you heard this, I mean, as a member of, when you switch hats, you're not a journalist reporting this. So when you are a member, when you heard this coming out from the defense counsel, what's your first reaction?
That's very surprising because I never knew. This was not I don't think this was public knowledge. This is the first time I've ever heard this. This probably is the first time you've also heard this as well, and many others. So the first thing I heard this is, this is new information. Like from the prosecution's opening argument, there's no new information. Like all the court documents, you could already get the information from that he said in a statement. It was basically just repeating it, right? But in the defense opening statement, there's just more information, it's framing it as a story and, framing it in the context of Miles' life. And so it's just something very interesting and, unheard of.
For sure. So, and it also shows you how the length, the CCP had to go through to sabotage this movement. So whenever the new bank accounts opened and that they have those blacklisted individual, which sending money to those accounts, of course, right? So the U.S. Because these people, I think there's a reason. I think she mentioned that these are criminally charged offense. People are being put on this list, blacklist. So of course, it automatically trigger any transaction related to them. So this is how the CCP managed to close every pretty much single new business account that the movement and opens up, right? All those enterprises open up. So although we don't know the specific information, but as a member of the followers, as I said, I'm one of the investors for GTV. You know, I heard a lot of people like me, like a fellow fighters, when we trying to wire the money to GTV, they have to jump through a lot of hoops. I was a lucky one. You know, I went to the bank and the tellers asked me gazillions of questions, and they worry that I've fallen as a victim of a scam. And the first lady that helped me reject me. She doesn't want to provide services to me. Then I switched to another branch, and then finally I successfully wired my money to GTV. But I heard a lot of different stories from fellow fighters that they had so much trouble sending and wired the money to the GTV. And today in the court, we kind of relate. You know, we kind of corroborating why this is so different, why there's so many bank accounts. I think that alone, that piece of information connect quite a bit dots for us. So is there any other piece of information that brought by the defense team, brought by Sabrina, has really impressed you?
I think mostly just how she framed her opening argument. It was very impressive. It was, very interesting, and it caught my full attention. Honestly, unlike the prosecution's opening statement, because it was honestly just repeating the facts that have already been stated, right, in the indictment. But for Sabrina, she was just very logical, very rational, and everything made common sense. The argument was laid out very rationally, as well as very emotionally. It sort of tugged at your heartstrings. When she was talking about Miles's humble beginnings and how he built up who he is from where he came from. And so I say that today was, a very good start for the trial, and I'm excited to see where this leads us.
And so when you walked out that courtroom, is there any media out there?
Sorry, could you repeat that? It's very loud here.
Okay, so when you walked out, you finished at 2:45. When you walked out the courtroom, were there any media around you? Media personnel outside the courthouse?
So I actually left early, so I'm not aware of those if there were any media. Okay. But from what I understood in the courtroom, it seemed like there were a bunch of reporters covering the trial.
Okay, gotcha. So we're probably likely to hear some of the report from the courthouse today from other media outlets. So anyway, thank you so much, Kevin, for spending the time with us today on this show. And I will say bye to you because in our broadcasting room, I have another guest. So thank you so much, Kevin. I talk to you later. You take care.
Thank you so much, Ava, for having me.
Thank you. Okay, so now I just welcomed another beautiful fellow fighters, and I think if you watched previous shows, you probably recognized her, and her name is Feather. So hi, Feather. Welcome back. I know you just rushed your way back from the courthouse just to catch the live show here. So say hello to our audience.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone that's watching LFA TV and anyone that's watching it on Rumble and on X or on Getter. My name is Feather. I was on the English show yesterday, and I just came back from the courtroom. Today we ended a bit earlier, so I rushed to our broadcasting room and to share some news, the newest updates with you guys.
That's awesome. Thank you so much. But I wanted to let our audiences know that we're sitting basically behind us. We are looking at Statue of Liberty. And across the Statue of Liberty on the other angle, we can see the MDC, which is the detention center that Miles School has been kept, right? So it's kind of a triangle, and we have the best view here from the headquarters of the NFSC. So I talked to Kevin, and he shared with us a lot about the jury selection, and then the opening statement, and including of course, the judge's instruction prior to the opening statement. But we haven't had a chance to talk about witness.
The witness.
Yes, testimony and a cross-examination. And I left halfway through, so I didn't finish that portion, but I know there's quite a bit interesting stuff and exciting stuff. So could you give us, first of all, maybe I should ask you, so the impression of the day, like especially from the jury selection and the opening statement from both parties?
Right, the impression of the day, it was, I would say, overall, the first half of the trial was very, very efficient. Basically, in the morning, let me check. Within 2 hours, we have settled, confirmed the 12 jurors and including 6 alternate jurors. Including the peremptory strike.
Yeah.
So that's been said, and then we began the official trial right away after the selection. Okay, so after the opening statements by both attorneys, both parties, was Mike for the government, representing the government, and Sabrina representing Miles. I think that took half of the day, and then it was pretty. I would say each opening statement took about 30 minutes.
What's your feeling, general?
My feeling?
Yeah, feeling after you heard them saying what they had to say.
Yeah, my feeling was it was very intense. I got very emotional hearing about Sabrina's opening statement. Yeah. She was talking about the story of Miles explaining it to the jury. And I believe a lot of jury, they were hearing it, they were paying a lot of attention. They even, as you mentioned, in the court, they were sitting a bit like leaning forward to hear about what Sabrina was saying. And another impression I made, I don't know if I can say that, but it's that the government, they will keep emphasizing the couple points.
Yeah, that's a strategy,
right?
Strategy, because they have a point to prove, so they're kind of pounding on it repeatedly.
Yes, they're just repeating the points that they wanted to the jurors to remember, right?
Yeah.
But then both parties mentioned about how they should hear the evidence, then based on evidence to make the fair judge. It was, and then the opening statement made a lot of people very emotional, and a lot of people have wiped their tears in the audience seat.
I confess I did, and Feather was sitting besides me, and I couldn't, because when Sabrina described the movement, from kind of an early beginning, kind of a, although in a very succinct way, very compact way, but still, and I saw Miles was basically also moved and touched, and I turn around and I say few fellow fighters basically are in tears already, because it just really it touched us, it really touched us. And I was talking to Kevin, because I don't know whether you remember when Sabrina talking about the whistleblower movement, she actually turned around and look at us. So it was the moment that the eye connection, she understood, and we pray for those jurors that they understood, even though they didn't grow up in China, they might not experience any persecution directly from the CCP, but we are hoping by presenting all the truths and evidences and stories that they will be able to see what the judge, under the guidance of the judge, wants them to see.
Yes, for sure. And they will understand and how this movement in America has to offer to the American people, and as well as the Chinese people who are suffering right now. So shall we move on to?
Yeah, for sure. So what about the, because I can't wait for you to share the witness. So how many witnesses today we had in the court?
So for today in total, the government side, they presented 2 witnesses in total.
Okay.
They had a third one, but then there was no time left, so we just ended after the second one, and then both parties have did the redirect or the cross-examination after the second one, and there's no question left to ask, so we're done with the second.
So the second one was completely done and finished, and then they adjourned afterwards.
Yes.
Okay, that's great, because I wasn't sure, because I left it. Yeah. I was thinking, oh shoot, I have to leave early for this broadcast, so I can't finish listening to the rest of the good stuff. So the first witness, could you tell us a little bit more? Who is the first witness, and what did he or she share with the in the court, in the trial?
Yes, the first witness, I couldn't tell her name because, well, first of all, I didn't really catch it. It was really fast.
Yeah.
But then she's a special agent, FBI agent, specifically I believe she was a evidence response team. She was assisting the New York team, the New York police, to search FBI search the house of Miles Guo's
wife's residence,
yes,
in Connecticut.
So they have a search warrant, and she was explaining how this the search went and how long it took for the whole search, and then she was basically answering questions of the lawyer on the government side.
Okay.
So they showed a lot of evidence, a lot of pictures.
Yeah.
There was a lot of objections as well from Sabrina from Miles'
from our side.
Yes,
okay.
From defendant's side.
So what do you think that the witness, what do you think the government, the first witness of a government set out to accomplish?
I feel like the message, the intention of asking the question is to link directly this house and any belongings in the house, including clothes. I have a list here.
Yeah.
The clothes, G-fashion, Brioni hangers. Like we see a lot of picture of hangers, but didn't really see the clothes. But there's hangers. Like clothes hangers. And there's the room, the cameras, like the studio, of flags of NFSC, and in the garage with Lamborghini. The red Lamborghini was a big discussion. And there are a lot of documents as well, like loan agreement or vehicle certification. All of that is trying to prove that all of this has to do with Miles, and then he belonged to Miles, and then he's the one that bought or personally purchased or has some sort of link to Miles School.
So this is trying to fit into their story, right? Because they're trying to, in the opening statement, they say, Miles School defrauded and stolen somebody's money to enrich himself, which living as a billionaire lifestyle, right? And I remember in the opening statement, the prosecutor team even mentioned about, how many jets, how many yachts, Miles School purchased. How much is a mattress? The mattress is like a $35,000, like a TV is $60,000, like jets and Lamborghinis and Ferraris. So they listed all of out, right? So I think this piece is just trying to present their story, say, hey, all of this, we described it earlier in the opening statement, it's here, some of them are here in this house, in this wife and daughter's house that we find and seized, right? So I think that's the purpose. That's
the purpose, yes.
Okay, so do you think that they successfully laid out that way that to you, we're not a juror, right? But from a spectator, like according to your personal opinion, do you think that they convinced you that that's the case?
It didn't convince me that that Miles School has a direct link to any of the belongings. Let's say the Ferrari. Oh, sorry, it was a Lamborghini. And the house and any documents in the house that's been found in the house as well. So the cross-examination, which is from the defense team,
yeah.
Have questioned the witness about the testimony she's been testified. So let me see. And they came to a conclusion where this witness' memory is only limited to what's been shown to her. Basically, she was the supervisor of the research team.
Who is she?
She is the witness.
Okay.
Witness one from the government team.
Okay.
So she's the supervisor of the research team, and she does not research any of the evidence. She did not find any of the evidence shown in the photograph. So she does not remember that she's seen anything in the house herself physically, and where, and including where they're recovered, right? And so she's busy testifying for the things that she did not see or she did not search for herself. It's only in the picture, and she doesn't know anything that what it means in the photography that's been shown. So she doesn't know anything what it means. Like she doesn't know what the let's say pans 200 means, or any of the readings mean the documents as well.
So it's very effectively basically undermined the credibility, right, of her testimony.
Yes.
Under the questions asked from the prosecutor team.
Yeah, basically she's testified for the photographs somebody showed to her. So that's the point that Sabrina, our lawyer, trying to prove to the jury.
I say that part because I really loved it. I think if I am a spectator, I would have gave Sabrina 100 out of 100. I think she nailed it because. So you mentioned about the FBI agent is the witness number one for the government, and this lady, I think her first name is Erin. So she basically answered all the questions from the government, and during her testimony, under the government's question, she was instructed to read a lot of documents. Some of the documents are related to what I just shared with you, the four schemes, the four schemes to do with the GTV and G Club, and the farm loan and the Himalaya exchange. So some of the documents, and one of the documents is a car, a title, right? So she just instructed to read all of this. And then when it comes to cross-examination, and when Sabrina asked her what you do, right? She said, I am the supervisor of this ERT team, which is evidence response team. Evidence response team of a different division, not New York division, right? She was approached by New York division, I think, to assist, right? Because Miles Guo has multiple residences, one of them, in Connecticut. So she happened to be located there, so she was assisting, and she was basically told us that the search lasted for 4 hours.
Around 4, yes.
But she didn't do any search, right? She was basically just supervising, because her role is supervising about 40 people that on that day, March 15th, 2023, where she said she arrived at 7 a.m. in the morning. And when she arrived, the gate was wide open already, because the first team, the entry team has already been there. So they left the door pop open for the search team, right? So Sabrina walked through very detailed, I remember, walked through very detailed questioning in terms of that morning arriving, what happened, what you see, did you see wife and daughter sitting, and where are they? Where are the dogs? How did you? So, and then after establishing the very detailed process of how they arrived and what she did, then Sabrina bring up some of the pictures, the same pictures that the government has shown to her, and ask her to read out, right? So Sabrina said, do you recall? Did you see these pictures? Do you know what it says? Because some of the pictures are documents. The witness number one was instructed to read by the government, and she read it out. But when Sabrina probed with further questions, say, hey, do you know what does that mean? One of the documents, it's actually G Club, right? You know that?
Yes.
So it was G Club Jor, right? We had a G Club member, Jor.
Yes.
I think it was some of the gifts. The first one was a whistle.
Yes.
Right, it was a whistle, and then then they had what's that? T-shirt or hats? I forgot on the documents that she was reading.
I think it's hats.
Hats,
Yes.
pants, yeah, pants, 100 pairs, and
Yeah.
hats, something. And she was reading, and Sabrina asked her, "Do you know what this document is saying?" And the witness say, "I don't understand. I don't know it. I don't know what it meant." So there are a number of those questions, those documents. For example, the trust loan, right, agreement. So what does that mean? I don't know. So the witness does not know, basically, anything outside of what the words is saying, right? And the other things I remember really vividly is Sabrina asked her, "How many times did you actually talked to the prosecutor team?"
Yes.
And what was her answer?
She couldn't remember. She said she couldn't remember. And then Sabrina asked, how many times have you contact you in the past 2 days? And she couldn't remember at all.
And that's surprise.
Yeah, it's
right?
very
It's very
surprising.
past 2 days, how many times you guys talked? I don't remember. I don't know. She said, "I don't know."
I don't know. Yeah.
So that's kind of a very interesting, very surprising, right?
Yeah.
And then even this morning,
Yeah.
Sabrina asked, "How many times did the prosecutor team prep you? Like how many times did you meet? Once or twice? I don't know. I don't recall. Right? Remember that?
Yes. And then they found an email exchange. Well, Sabrina found the email exchange between her and the government team.
Yeah.
To let's say to remind her that they have they contact each other.
Yeah.
This morning.
They've talked to each other prior to the search, right? In terms of how to, because she's a supervisor, she ought to know, right? Because otherwise, how do you coordinate the search, right? Because she said her role is to coordinate the search, so you would have to have some prior knowledge, right? So, but one of the things also very interesting is, so she asked, how did you communicate with prosecutor? And she doesn't remember. So Sabrina reminded her, and she said, "Let me remind you."
Yes.
And then she pulled out a piece of paper, which
proves
that and it shows that they text each other.
Yes.
Okay. So this is kind of a really interesting moment. I think give you kind of a laid out land. This witness's testimony is kind of it's been coached.
Yes.
It's very coached, and she only have a very, very narrow knowledge about what was being told her by the government, right? Because I think Sabrina's question repeatedly, is this correct? Is this correct? And the answer is no, she doesn't know anything. Then Sabrina repeatedly, the lawyer on Miles School said, repeatedly and saying that shows you don't know anything. You don't know anything outside, outside of what the government prosecutor team wants you to say, right? So finally, she admitted.
Yeah.
She said yes.
Yeah.
After repeating.
That's after, and also that's after the detailed. She was explaining how one evidence has been taken, the picture has been taken. You have to go through the system and then number the picture.
Yeah.
And then number the picture with each room, and then you have to put it in the system and then do several steps and then put it in the evidence system.
That's
so
right. Yeah.
after the details, all the detail work she has done with the evidence, the pictures, she still doesn't know anything about them.
Yeah. So it's pretty. It's pretty convincing, I think, at the end of our the defense lawyer's question. Like, it's pretty convincing. So we only have a few minutes left. So let's move on to the witness too, because I'm very curious.
Yes.
Because I missed the entire witness too. So tell us about the witness too. Who is this person, and what did the what was the goal that the defense team trying to accomplish, and did they accomplish it?
So I was paying very close attention to listen, but I might interpret it like different than others.
Yeah, don't quote us on any of those things, because
sure.
The final answer has to rely on the transcript, right? Because we might be making mistakes or miss something.
Yes. So the second witness, it's a financial director at Lamborghini Dallas.
Okay.
So basically, he supervises to do transactions between the owner and Lamborghini Dallas.
Okay.
For the purchase. He's been there working for 13 years, and we've seen a lot of paperwork that on the sale of the Lamborghini that's in the garage in the House of Connecticut. A lot of paperwork that basically the government showed a lot of paperwork to link that this
owned by Miles
yes,
Guo.
it's owned not necessarily by Miles Guo, but it's showing that the Lamborghini we saw at the house in the picture, it's being purchased with Lamborghini Dallas. And they have confirmed all the serial number, the names on the purchase files, and the transaction sheet, the shipment sheet, all of the just to confirm that they bought it there.
There, okay.
Yes, yes, they just confirmed a successful Lamborghini vehicle transaction, spending like 20 minutes.
Gotcha. That's prosecutor team
That's
spending 20 minutes just to show, this organization did purchase this car. Okay.
Yes. And during the cross-examination with a defense team, so they confirmed that this car is not a civic car. So it could be a collection car.
Okay.
It's a car that not normal people would buy.
So it's a limited
It's a
edition.
limited edition.
Okay, gotcha.
Yes. And then she confirmed that there's 35 purchased Lamborghini at Lamborghini Dallas per month.
35.
35.
Okay,
per
that's
month.
not a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
So and she also, the VIN number, she emphasized the VIN number. Every car has a VIN number. There's nothing special about the VIN number.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a Toyota or a Lamborghini. Yeah. So they also confirmed that this car, it's a used car.
Hmm?
So this car
It's not a brand new?
It's not a brand new car.
Oh.
Only, but it has 315 miles on it.
Okay.
But it's a used car, and it's confirmed by the witness.
I see.
Second witness.
So second-hand car.
Second-hand car.
And collective,
Yes,
like a collective.
and then it might be sold to not just one person before.
Oh,
Yes,
so might have more than one owner, previous owners.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Gotcha.
and then also this witness doesn't know what G Club nor who Miles Guo is.
Okay, so this
Yes.
this director from the Dallas Lamborghini does not know us,
Yes.
the enterprises that mentioned.
Yes, and I noticed a lot of question was linked to the price of the Lamborghini.
Okay, how much is
Yes.
it?
So as the final transaction is showing, it's 800. Let's see.
832.
832,000. 832,075.
Wow.
Yeah.
It is.
But the price went up, but the dealer, the witness said that the price went up after the pandemic because.
Because everything got inflation,
yes,
right?
But Sabrina asked him, is it because it's an investment? So she brought out this question whether it's an investment that the price went up, and then a lot of questions has been sustained due to objection.
I see, gotcha.
Yeah, and because of the model change as well for the car.
I see.
So this is a possible investment for G Club.
Yeah.
And also the price went up after pandemic.
Okay.
So
so normal circumstances, you would think this is investment, right?
Yeah, it was originally 600,000. That's how much it went up. That's like two more.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
so $600 more worth now. So it's over $1 million.
Oh no.
Oh, okay.
It's 200,000 more.
Oh, 200.
Yes.
So still over $1 million,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Right. 832 plus 200.
Yes, and a lot of insurance-related questions are sustained as well.
Sustained as well. So
Yes.
okay. So we don't know the the answer from the
Yes.
witnesses. Okay.
And there's one last thing that's been asked to the last witness.
Yeah.
So they were asking whether she saw or see picture of Miles driving the Lamborghini in New York.
Yes.
Remember?
I remember she asked. Yes.
And Sabrina asked, if someone drives a car, does it mean he owns the car?
Yeah.
No.
I remember that. That was a really good ending
Yes.
of that first witness, is because they trying. I think the prosecuting trying to prove that somehow Miles owns this car.
Yeah.
But then Sabrina basically struck all of this and saying that did you find driver licensing Miles Guo's name? Did you find Miles Guo's closing the car? Did the car ever drove or anything? The answer is all no. And then I think the prosecutor team stand up and made a comment and say, well, there is a video showing that Miles Guo is driving this car, right? And then the course our side and say, well, witness one, please tell me, if you see someone driving a car, does that mean that person also owns this car? The answer is no. So I think that was really great, because I think a lot of us sitting at the back was smiling. We had a smile on our face.
Yes.
We absolutely loved it. I think so. For the second witness, because we only have 5 more minutes to go. For the second witness, what? So is there any cross examination after the first rounds? Like the first witness, we had a back and forth, a few rounds. But how about the second?
There's only a cross examination and a recross, and that's all.
Recross.
Yeah, that's a recross. So like 2 rounds, and that's it. But
Okay.
I think the main point of the arguments here by the government team is to show this is a very expensive car.
I see.
And they try to try anything to prove that this car is owned by Miles, and Miles used the money from the G Club to buy the car. That's the main argument here.
Okay. So, well, I think Miles Guo was a billionaire, and his family trust still owns a lot of assets. So, and you know, his lifestyle didn't change, as the defense team said in the opening statement. You know, nothing changes. Okay, so that's why I'm so appreciative that Sabrina spent a lot of time talking about people's prejudice. Because in the juror, 12 of them, I don't think there's people as rich as Miles Guo would, or even close, right? So because we're everyday people, you know. So that's why Sabrina reminded them. So don't use your shopping habits, or don't think your frame of reference to gauge how a person have resources like Miles Guo spend. So 60,000 TV. You know, don't think that that's out of league, right?
Just think within the context.
Exactly. Always think the things within the context that I'm providing to you. So I really appreciate it. And today, I think I'm very happy because I heard one thing that's very, very, very significant for every single fellow fighter followers. That is 419 VOA. Because in the opening statement, Voice of America, that Sabrina mentioned the VOA. So when you heard she mentioned VOA, what went through your minds? Give you 1 minute.
It was the first of all she mentioned is the red notice.
That's right. After VOA, then can the red notice? Yeah.
Yes. That's she brought up the threats, the persecutions, and all the threats. That's the safety concerns that's been happening ever since to Miles.
That's right. Yeah.
And that considering that this person has this everything that's making him not safe going through. And how does this person manage to keep up with the movement? The whistle movement still doing all the things to expose.
That's right.
And to go against, and then risking his safety.
That's right.
So I think that's a question that a lot of jury is gonna think about tonight.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, so although the jury, the 12 members did not have any experience directly from the CCP, but I think through today's opening statements, they felt the ongoing persecution, you know, from the VOA, from the red notice, from the family members, the wife and daughters being arrested, being tortured, and, you know, surveillance, hacking, and all those things was mentioned in terms of how they wanted Miles to silence. So I think a lot of great information has come out, and I'm very curious how the mainstream media is going to report on that. Are they going to be selective as they used to? You know, we often see those very selective report, or are they going to be objective? And I think this is an aha moment for them as well. I truly pray for them. I hope they will open their eyes to see the whole truth. So I think this is a day 3 of the coverage for the Miles trial. And if you haven't subscribed to LFA TV and NFSC Speaks, please do so, because we will cover the rest of the trial at this time, Monday to Friday from 3 to 4. So thank you so much, Feather, for doing this show with me today. So I will see you next time.
See you next time.
Bye-bye.